what's the question of the day, Kevin?
Oh, we got to do a question of the day now, too?
Yes. Maria from California sent this in, and she'd probably be upset if we didn't address this.
You're right, and I stand corrected. Thank you, sir.
So she wanted to know why you would do a beach entry and if that is the best solution for a shallow water area.
All right, do you want me to give you my perspective?
Sure, I'm sure we have different perspectives.
Poolside Perspectives.
There's an S at the end, so we each can have different ones.
All right, so I think beach entries, in theory, are cool. And in all the times that I've been to Mexico or been to the Caribbean or even been to Hawaii, and I've been to big resorts that have massive pools with a big team of people taking care of everything, and the pools are so large that the slope on the beach entry is very mild and gradual and makes sense.
Yes.
I think that's really cool.
That's awesome.
The problem is that most residential pools aren't big enough to facilitate what I would consider a safe slope, an acceptable slope, a slope that makes sense. And that doesn't even take into consideration the fact that in a sloped entry into a pool, you're going to have higher evaporation rates. You're probably going to get birds that are going to love spending time there, and they're going to be doing their thing in the pool. If you have an in-floor cleaning system, which I highly suggest anybody have, it's going to blow the water right out of the pool because there's really not a good way to adjust those heads down so that they clean the areas properly. I just don't think that there's enough room in most residential yards to do a beach entry like people are thinking. And I think that's part of the problem is you go somewhere and you think, oh, this is so cool. This is really neat. I want it in my yard. I want it in my pool. But it just doesn't work.
So I've found that if I do some things, this process works a little bit better. So I look at the slope as a handicap ramp.
So ADA, 1 in 12.
8%. Okay. So if I do an 8% slope going in, what that means is for me to drop down to 6 inches, just 6 inches. And so that means the first 4 feet of it, it's dry because I got to get to the water line, which is down below the tile and the coping. So I'm going down, the first third of it's dry. Now, the other thing is the material that's on this area has to be exposed to air. So you're limited by what you can put there. So you want to put something usually that can handle the wet, dry situation, which some stones can go in there. Some tiles could be put there. I don't recommend bringing the interior finish of the pool up in that space.
That's a disaster.
That is a bad thing to do because those surfaces aren't set to dry out. And what happens is as your water line moves up and down, this line moves up and down on that space. So first third of it's dry, and then you're sloping and you get into 6 inches of water. It takes 10 feet to make that happen.
Exactly.
Okay. So the challenge, as you said earlier, is most spaces don't have 10 or 12 or 14 feet to properly handle this. And so I've seen several what I call skateboard ramps. And so I've seen some beach entries that you would break your ankle going down.
I have seen some that you would, get dangerously hurt, and just don't make any sense.
None whatsoever.
I mean, they couldn't have possibly been built to any standard that I'm aware of.
So the other thing is, have you heard about Polaris escaping the pool up the beach entry? And then the water hose is squirting all over the place and blowing water out of your pool. That's another nice disaster story.
So the Polaris driving straight out of the pool?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I'm gone. It is a very cool look, especially with an organic style pool. I think people like the transition in. But I tell people from a function standpoint, you're much better off usually creating the same functional space in less than 6 feet with a tanning ledge.
With 6 inches of water.
6 inches of water over the whole thing.
Yes.
Versus, a sliver of water to start at 3 feet and going down to 6 inches. So it's a lot shallower space. So from an aesthetic standpoint, I think it's very nice in some design situations. From a functional standpoint, as you stated, I think it's hard to pull off. So I think, Maria, that I would recommend in most cases that you use a tanning ledge over a beach entry. What's your thought?
All right, Maria, if you heard that, I think that's the answer, is that unless you're building a very large pool, and actually if you're going to build a really large pool, then it's going to cost a lot more money. So, I mean, you've got to take into consideration the aesthetics of it, but also the functionality and utility of it, and weigh that against the cost and having the space in a room for it.
One thing I should probably point out, because I've had numerous clients think this too, because they've gone to the resort and the beach entry goes all the way to the floor. Okay,
Yes.
The beach entry I'm talking about replaces only the top step.
Correct.
Then you're going to have steps after that, or it's going to drop off.
Yeah, because if you went all the way to the floor, it might be 40 feet to the bottom of the floor.
Minimum of 30.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that's 35. Yeah. So, it takes a lot of space for that to happen. So, again, it's not. And so a lot of people are thinking, oh, that's what it does because that's what it did at my resort. And that's, again, not going to work in a residential swimming pool very well.